Hey everyone, thanks for taking the time to join us on SADA's Cloud and Clear podcast. This is a conversation about what we have that's happening in technology and how together with Google Cloud and our alliance partners, we're making paths forward for our customers. I'm excited today to introduce you to Dan Spurling, who is a Senior Vice President of Engineering at Teradata. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian. Great to be here.
Happy to have you. So at the beginning, we really just want to sort of get to know each other and let the audience get to know you as well. So we just want to start off with some introductions. And so tell us a little bit about yourself. Like where are you based? What is your data journey that led you to Teradata, and just anything else that you want to tell the audience about you?
Perfect. So I am based in sunny San Diego. It is currently gorgeous outside and warm and beautiful. I say all these things because I came from Seattle. I was in Seattle for 40-something years and born and raised there. And so being able to come down to San Diego has been a little bit of revolutionary for me and my family. I'm an old geek, like that, and the face moisturizer hides years of like hitting delivery timelines and outage calls. But I'm an old geek that has loved to see how much tech has progressed for us as an industry. Like the amount of change that has happened. I joined the workforce in the early '90s. And back then, when you were trying to connect up, ISDN lines and challenges like moving from maybe a system over into maybe the old Windows NT, right? Like how hard that was and how messy that was and how much tech barely permeated outside work into our personal lives. To see that shift has been awesome. So that for me is the thing that drives me and makes me excited every day. And so moving into this space, moving at Teradata, being able to join a company who has such a rich history in constantly pushing the envelope in kind of this data space, like pushing what it means to really do interesting things with data, pushing into the active data warehouse space, and now pushing into that really modern data platform space. It is an honor to work here, and I'm so thankful to be here working with the team.
That's cool, and I'm a little bit jealous about your description of the weather over in San Diego because I am based out of New York City, and we are recording today on a day where it's just absolutely gloomy and it's raining. And your talk about clear skies is making me jealous.
Yeah.
But
You know how they talk about that seasonal effectiveness disorder thing, right? It didn't ever really bother me, but now I'm going to be a jerk to you. I'm sorry, but waking up every single day to a sunrise, it makes your day. It makes your day. So.
Yeah, I mean, last week there were sunrises over here. It just happened to be pushing 100 when the sun rose. So you can't win them all, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. No, so that's awesome. If for a second, if you could just tell us a little bit more about Teradata for the listeners today who are joining in, who may be newer to the data space, who may not be familiar with the Teradata name. Can you just tell us a little bit about who Teradata is and what you're really known for in the analytics space?
Teradata is ultimately known for its ability to drive, support, enable, whatever words you want to throw in there, those incredibly complex workloads that the largest enterprises are driving today. In general, when we talk about Teradata, we talk about it as the connected multi-cloud data platform for enterprise analytics. And it's important to think about each of those pieces. Connected for Teradata, for those of you who have known us, we've been around for decades. And we, like I said earlier, we pushed the envelope of what it meant to be a data platform. But we are recognizing more and more in today's world, you need to be connected. You need to be part of a larger ecosystem. You need to actually be like a member of almost a society that is unlocking, enabling data. We talk about multi-cloud, but we don't mean multi-cloud in the boring way of I run on AWS and I run on Azure and I run on Google Cloud specifically here. We mean it in the context of how do we unlock and enable intelligently our customers to leverage the best cloud at the right time while thinking about data gravity or egress or data sovereignty. How do we actually remove the complexity of multi-cloud and then kind of run it across those spaces? We talk about the platform, and platform is moving away from software that you install on a server and moving much more to that experience of just consuming analytics, not running a system, right? And then finally, and probably for us most importantly, that idea of enterprise analytics, that's the balance of saying, I want to do really, really cool stuff, really interesting data insights I want to pull out of my data, but I have to do it in the confines of an enterprise, like enterprise system, enterprise program, enterprise expectations. So we think about analytics in that enterprise space around how do we make sure that we can scale as big or small as they need based on the business need. How do we do that though while managing cost, while making sure we manage governance so that the right people have access immediately when they need it. But at the same time, we control to make sure the wrong people don't get access, or that sensitive data is not published, or that like maybe again that governance side, or that some of that sovereignty from different like regions' laws. We make sure we protect that and help the company protect themselves. So enterprise analytics, getting value out of that data, actually doing something with that data, but in an enterprise lens.
Yeah, and your comment about the consumption model and just having analytics be there really that's something that always catches my eye because like, don't let my good looks fool you. I do come from a background of having to rack and stack things and install software on actual physical servers. And I tell you, one of the things that made me a big believer in the cloud is always thinking back to when I pulled my back for the first time, actually trying to lift the server. And I'm like, it's like those infomercials. Like, there has to be a better way, right? Like, why are we doing this?
And not that screw ramp. Remember that thing that you had the cable where it lift the server up and you'd be able to shove it in? Yeah. That's not the answer you're talking about.
Yeah. It's just the ability to go into a console, just going into a console and saying, oh, I just want to consume X amount of database and have it be there. That's just a world of difference to me.
Well, and you think about it, like, in every part of the rest of our life today, like, I don't know about you, but I get excited about how much intelligence is built into everything. I love being surprised, like pleasantly surprised by experiences. I talk about this with our team internally. Like, it doesn't have to be data analytics, right? Where we think and draw ideas from. I was setting up like a Ring alarm system in my house, and just the ease. It was almost like they had like gone through the steps for me a million times and tried to remove every piece of friction for me, right? And I was like, dear Ring developers, thank you so much for making my life easier, right? Like you're talking about, like I really just want the alarm. Like It's not like I really want to spend the time. It's not like I get excitement over like figuring out how to mount like motion detectors, right? Totally with you.
Yeah, removing the friction and the barriers is always important, and that's cloud is really changing, especially for data, because no one wants to install things anymore. Like, that's an old construct,
yes.
in my opinion.
Well, and you talk about that removing friction and no one wanting to actually install things. Like, one of the things that I think that we as an industry, especially us on the tech side, as an industry need to be careful to stop thinking about cloud or talking about cloud, about the infrastructure. We still do it all the time. It's like, I would like to tell you about my speeds and feeds, right? But the idea of cloud is it was like, the intent always was to allow companies, us, to focus on the thing that makes us strategic and not spend time on the stuff that's not strategic for us, right? Like, so that we can have like dedicate like as much time as humanly possible to make that experience in our platform, in our thing, whatever we deliver, make that experience amazing, make it delightful, make it not 5-star experience, but like 10-star experience, right? And when we don't have to worry about all the cloud stuff, all the systems that run it, we can invest more time, more money, et cetera, on that. So yeah, I'm with you 100%.
So speaking of the topic of things that are delightful, I do want to talk about Google Cloud for a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and Teradata's journey when you started working on the partnership with Google Cloud? And Google also has a lot of really innovative things in data tooling and infrastructure and just the way that it fundamentally works. What was your journey when working with Google, and how do you as Teradata leverage a lot of the innovations that GCP brings to you?
Yes. I'm lucky that we started our partnership with Google before I even came here to Teradata. And so I get to build on the shoulders of what was already instantiated. We started working with Google, though, originally because we knew that our ability to tap into that power you were talking about that Google Cloud brings, we saw that together with Google and Teradata Vantage, we would be able to deliver tremendous business value to customers at its scale that no one can touch at a price that no one can touch. So we knew that the value from Google Cloud was critical to Vantage to be able to offer to our customers. We are constantly working to optimize the performance and cost, working tightly with Google and their engineers there to be able to allow our customers to scale, like I was talking about, to scale to that enterprise level. So whether we're working with customers on just Google proper, or where we're really starting to integrate with Google. So the ability to query directly between Teradata and Google products, like their Google Cloud Storage, Dataproc, BigQuery even, right? And then also integrating with their pipelines, their direct pipelines, like Dataflow or Data Fusion, their plethora of AI or ML technologies, and then of course their visualization tools like Looker or Data Studio. The integration that we got, as well as the power that we're able to build on, was really where we saw this massive amount of opportunity for a partnership with Google.
Yeah, and it's awesome seeing that, because I think in the broader space, one of the big trends, especially among the hyperscalers, is really like leveraging the best of both worlds, because a lot of vendors and a lot of companies are really good at certain things, but I mean, there's no one company that does everything. So I mean, it's just being able to integrate and plug in and leverage all that.
Teradata's kind of closed. Like, we can do almost everything. So no.
So I have to pay the bills. So I do have to ask, how did you become involved with SADA specifically, and why was it so awesome?
Yeah, I think from a SADA perspective, it's actually impossible to really operate in that Google Cloud ecosystem and not know about SADA. I mean, you are Google's largest reseller. You're a huge influence in the market. You do a lot to bridge that divide between the classic cloud provider and customer needs. SADA is there deep worldwide. So when we think about the reputation that SADA had across the industry, you're incredibly respected. It was almost interesting that we actually Teradata started with SADA, not as a partner to actually sell, but actually as a partner for ourselves. And so like that really almost like, that try before you buy thing, we started with SADA, getting the value that you provide to our customers as a customer. And it came so apparent to us that SADA was capable of being obviously much more than just our provider, like actually a shared provider to our customers. So the relationship between Teradata, Google Cloud, and SADA together to really bring Teradata's strategy to market was incredibly valuable to us. And we were really thankful to be able to partner with you and continue partnering with you and grow that partnership. Coupling a lot of the best practices from Teradata as well as from Google Cloud, you were able to bring that experience that we were talking about to our customers. And that, the classic, 1 + 1 = 3. For us, it's really that 1 + 1 + 1 = 10, right? And SADA helps us make that happen. So thank you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. And I know I'm also directly involved in a few different aspects of the partnership with Teradata directly. So I know that we're doing a lot of cool things together. And I'm actually quite excited to see where this goes throughout the next couple of years. So I'm glad to hear that. Pivoting slightly a little bit, talking about your products and where you're taking your product line. We've talked a bit about Teradata's cloud approach and how you're moving into a cloud first approach to data analytics, and that's obviously going to bring a lot of benefits to customers using your platform. Looking a little bit into the near future, if we kind of polish off the crystal ball for a second, what are the broader market trends that you're seeing with the customer base and data analytics, and how are these influencing the product direction and the product innovation that Teradata is investing in the near future?
Yeah, I love that question, and in a lot of ways, it kind of is permeated by everything we've been talking about. That experience that we want to bring to the world, that consumer-like experience that we should all expect from whatever business tool that we use. And then also talking about SADA and our relationship, right? You look at what Tony has built there with SADA. Tony has built a company, an impressive company that's filled with really fantastic talent. And you have a culture that really puts customers first. That permeates everything you do and all of the dealings that you have with your customers. That same idea of that customer first, we want that to permeate our product. And we want to permeate the experience that people use when they use Teradata. I leading engineering here. We have a team of about 1,300 devs just in our engineering group, and we spend a ton of time thinking about how do we make that experience that permeates every aspect of their dealing with us and makes it simpler and easier and more intuitive and more obvious, while also being incredibly powerful. So, like when you think about that, like for me, I spend a ton of time thinking about what does product innovation look like, both now, like kind of that Horizon 1, Horizon 2, kind of that McKinsey idea, and then also Horizon 3. What is data platforms? What are data platforms going to look like in 5 years? I think we're on the cusp of some really interesting, like game-changing pivots in the industry. The idea of data warehouses plus data lakes plus data marts plus data lake houses plus RDBMS databases plus all like we do that stuff because we're tech, but not because anybody actually wants that. Kind of like you were talking about. So that's why when I think about the future, I'm really trying to push this future, this idea of how do we make Teradata the most powerful, scalable, sustainable data platform and analytics platform, really, because data doesn't matter unless you do something with it. How do we make that for our customers? So that super long preamble to get to this idea of when I think about the future, I think about a couple things. And I could talk about this for hours. We don't have hours, so we'll have to go get a beer later. But I think about how do we first help companies unlock the massive amounts of data that's tucked away in tons of different data quarters. And we're doing that with the launch of our Vantage Lake offering, where we can connect up. It doesn't have to be in Teradata. Most of the company's data is spread throughout lots of systems. So we're investing in ways that we can get to all of these different data systems without moving everything. Like data, gravity is a thing, like physics are a thing. But how do we get value out of the data that's tucked all over? How do we have some way of having real-time understanding of the actions that our business takes, right? All the data that we have usually is tied to an action or maybe direct or indirect that was taken. How do we have an understanding of those actions and their knock-on effects and then do something with that at massive scale with our massively parallel analytics and streaming analytics capabilities? I think about, we were talking about this earlier, I think about how do we make infrastructure completely invisible? How do we make it so that the barrier to entry, the hurdles that someone has to get over in order to get insights from data doesn't require infrastructure knowledge? Like that's so 10 years, 20 years ago, right? And we're doing this with a lot of our ML and AI workload capabilities and optimizers that are built on decades of experience and hundreds of patents that we have. How do we make that so simple though, right? And the classic, making something simple is really hard, right? How do we at the same time meet data scientists, not just the anybody anywhere, but the data scientists where they are, and not make them learn Teradata, but rather give them native integrations with SageMaker or Dataiku or Jupyter Notebooks and Jupyter coming out of Hub or whatever, or maybe even just basic languages like R or Python, etc. How do we think about connectedness of people or of ideas even, whether it's cancer research or nuclear physics, right? How do we think about connecting data, people, firms, whatever, through data sharing capabilities, not creating a closed ecosystem, but actually keeping the ecosystem open, leveraging these public shared data capabilities or direct-to-direct sharing that we can provide to our customers? I can think about a bunch more, but you can see, I've got so many thoughts about, what does the future look like? What do the experiences look like around data? And how do we actually get value from all this data that we have and be able to actually influence our companies for good, right? Obviously, there's commercial good. I want all of our customers to make a ton of money, but I also want the social good too. I want us to actually make the world better and be able to see the breadcrumbs of how we've influenced the world through Teradata Vantage. Again, you can see I can talk about this ad nauseum.
That's good because passion is an important thing, especially when we're trying to lead products in a new direction. So That's absolutely good. But you commented on something that at least I've seen throughout my career, in that you're talking about data being in all these different places and how do you connect it all. And I feel like even if I think back to my early days as a junior ETL programmer, that's really where I got my start in data. Yeah. And I mean, even then, when we're talking about the old, the quote unquote systems of old, the problem was still the same, right? So you have 14 different systems and you're just trying to get data from point A to point B so that someone can analyze it in one fell swoop. And that's just a very difficult problem. I find it interesting that as time goes on, the problem statement more or less is the same, but because of the proliferation of source system end user tools, the problems has gotten worse. And it's interesting seeing how different vendors are trying to approach that problem and build solutions for that.
And one of the challenges we have is everybody is trying to give us data now. I don't know if you've got any of these things, but fridges and dishwashers dumping data. Do I need all that data? Of course, I mean, it's valuable, but to insert person, insert Viking or KitchenAid or Maytag, I don't care, right? The data is valuable for them. And if somehow they can pull all this data in and figure out why things break earlier, why things like how people are using it and stopping and starting, et cetera. Like if they can make it more intelligent, more intuitive for me as an end user with that data, I'm all for it, right? And we don't know what data is going to be valuable. And so now I'm rambling, but to get to your point, so we take just tons and tons of data, and we've got all the sensor data we throw over here. We've got usage data that we throw over here. We've got experience data. We've got sales data. And there's all these different systems. And the average person, not trying to say the data scientist, even the data scientist though, the average person doesn't want to call up IT and submit a ticket and wait 2 weeks and get a data set, and it's the wrong data set, and they pull it into the best analytics tool ever, Microsoft Excel, right? Because they don't have something else, right? We got to be better. And so I'm excited at Teradata, to your point, the passion. I'm excited at Teradata to be making it better.
Yeah, and it's interesting, but I don't think I really need any companies understanding what my late night ice cream eating habits are. So I think my fridge is okay being isolated.
Oh gosh, yeah. I was at a restaurant this last weekend, and I got some. Now I'm gonna mess it up. I got panna cotta, right? But I was like, I would like some polenta, please. And the poor gentleman was like, polenta for dessert? I was like, yes, it's so good. Right? I saw it on the menu. It's like, you mean panna cotta? Yeah. So not only do our fridges not need to know what we do, they also don't need to know the mistakes we make.
See, that's a data quality problem.
Data quality. Yeah, that's good. Great point.
You did say a keyword that did catch my eye, and I did want to ask you about that. But you mentioned not only Teradata being commercially beneficial to customers, but also sort of doing good in the world. And you did say the word sustainable in one of your answers, and I put a pin in that, and I want to take that pin out for a second. But if you could tell me if there's anything you can share with me and the viewers about your views on sort of ESG, environmental, social, and governance topics, and sort of technology for good. If there's anything you can share, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, when we talk about ESG as a world, we almost always focus in on climate, right? But there's so much, like you said, about just the whole idea of how are we trusted? How are we honest, right? How do we think about governance and enable customers, especially with GDPR was really the first one that really pushed us, right? But how do we think about making that side of customer privacy protection seamless and easy for our customers? So we do a lot of work in that space around governance, around true social, and then around true kind of sustainability. But specific to the sustainability part, there's almost this yin-yang. The amount of compute, the amount of carbon creation, the amount of heat, the amount of electricity used to drive analytics is massive. And so we, from a Teradata perspective, are constantly working and making huge investments. I've got teams, literally, that are working on making sure that we drive down the cost of those analytics with really intelligent optimization. So that we can honestly say, for this query, I'm going to get down to the nuts and bolts, but for this query, we promise that we will be cheaper, sure, dollar, right? But we will have less of an environmental impact with this query. We understand how the data is being used. We have intelligence that is actually out there understanding where and why data is being used, so that we don't move a ton of data and increase our carbon footprint because of it. That we don't move or drive a ton of analytics on a large swath of data when we really only needed a couple pieces of it. I know it sounds ridiculous, and it sounds crazy to say we're shaving off margin on every single query and every single piece of data move, et cetera. But when we're talking about billions of queries a day, our customers today do billions and billions and billions of queries a day. When we're talking about shaving off pieces, we're talking about a massive impact overall. And that's something that's important to us. And we've got people who are specifically passionate about how we're reducing our environmental footprint, knowing that we're going to do stuff with the data anyway. How do we reduce it as much as possible? So yeah, great question.
Gotcha. That's awesome, because I do that topic is something that's very important to me as well, and we're trying to do a lot of work with you actually with Teradata to try to formulate some solutions around sustainability and how to make computing as clean as we possibly can. So I'm glad you're as jazzed up about that as I am, because I think that's it's a shared problem across the entire world. So it's very important that kind of we all do the best we can in whatever we're working on to try to minimize our footprint. So I'm glad that that's something that you're focusing on too.
Yeah. And we're trying to make it so there's a financial incentive, right? we want it to look like not only are we making it have a lower impact from an environmental perspective, but actually it's cheaper for you. So we're incenting the behavior with our customers to actually use it, leverage it, to actually drive down your utilization, still get the answers you need, but drive it down and incent with cost. Like the more that we can do that as a society, like now I'm kind of virtue driving, but the more we can actually drive like the incentives that drive better behavior, we'll all be better. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But as we wrap up, I did want to give you the last word. Is there anything else that you'd like to impart and share with our listeners today?
Yeah. First of all, thank you again. It was great spending time with you. I know this was quick, but it was wonderful to chat with you and chat with your viewers. For Teradata, when we think about our long-term business strategy and where we're going and how we're reimagining again this data ecosystem, data operating system, what this world looks like, we are trying to drive digital transformations all over the world. And transformation, I know, is an overused buzzword, but the reality is like digital and data is allowing customers to truly like next generation change, right? And so as we're going through this cloud native, this hybrid era of data, right, we are looking to drive that open, connected, seamless, simple, consumable, radically easy data analytics capability for our customers, for our shared customers. And we're going to keep on pushing the envelope with our existing industry-leading capabilities, and then with their innovation that we're launching every day through our Teradata Innovation Labs. We're going to keep on pushing the envelope, and we are excited to do so with SADA. Thank you again. It was a pleasure.
Oh yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the time of the viewers who tuned in to listen to us talk about cloud and technology. With that, I did want to close up, and also real quick shout out. We do have our first ever SADA customer conference coming up. It's called SADA Impact. It will be on September 14th and 15th, and we're going to be bringing together the best of our customers, representation from SADA, Google, as well as Teradata and other valued partners as well. So go to the website, learn more about it. We'd love to have you sign up and see you there.
Yeah,
and with that,
43 days away. I saw that one of the guest speakers is Alexis. I have lost way too many hours of my life to Reddit, so it's going to be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, again, thank you for the time, and thank you to the viewers for tuning in, and hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Brian. Take care.
Cool. Yep.
Bye, all.
Thank you for listening to Cloud and Clear. Check the show notes for links to this week's topics, and don't forget to connect with us on Twitter @Cloud&Clear and our website, sada.com. Be sure to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app.